Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. Today's episode is a bonus episode chatting all about an Irish found footage horror sequel. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by Richard Walters, the director, writer, and star of Distort 2, The Dead Among the Trees, and it's streaming now on FoundTV. Thank you for joining us and welcome, Richard. Hello.
How's it going? Thanks a lot for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it so much. Uh, so Distort 2, it's on Found TV
Mhm.
and it's a sequel as well. I mean, pretty quickly back to back those two films.
Yeah, a bit mad. The first one only came out last year. Actually, pretty much a year on, I got this one out. Yeah.
That is
Um,
some intense work. I can't imagine what your work schedule is like for that. Let me very quickly just read out the synopsis so that our audiences are familiar with what this film's about. Not too long ago, a musician had a supernatural experience involving ghostly dogs and time-bending tapes left for him in an Irish forest. Now, a documentary filmmaker brings the man back to the same forest to see just how real these experiences were and to possibly save the woman who had been trapped there for 30 years. That's
Lovely.
pretty much it, isn't it?
Jeez, I swear I watched that film.
I would watch that film. Ghostly dogs, time-bending cassette tapes. Oh my God. To be fair though, the dog element of it I thought was really good, really, really interesting. That was something where I was a bit like, okay, this is something I can really like hang my hat on. This is a very interesting sort of thing. And time bending, parallel. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. People should really go and watch this film. But the time bending stuff, the cassette tapes, the
Mm.
potential like parallel universe type thing. Was interesting. Very, very interesting. I found it. Um, so shall we? So very quickly. So 2025 was when Distort came out. Should we very, very, very quickly talk about that? Was that almost completely like a one-man show for you?
Yeah, pretty much. Apart from obviously, there's some scenes with some other folks involved.
Mm.
So I think apart from that, then my mate Michael, who is a director in his own right, and he did the photography for the film. And then my friend Charlie, who I knew from back in, I went to the university in Wales, so I knew her from back there, and she did all the voices on the tapes for it. Apart from that, the first one was a one-man show, and I started it kind of during lockdowns, and then I really looked. There were certain things about the idea I loved, and I started and I shot most of the film. And then there was something about it I started really hating, so I gave up on the film and went off and did something else. Then I remembered what it was I was loving about it, and
Ah,
realized what it was that was kind of souring me on the idea. So I kind of went and retooled a few things and got the film finished. So I would have finished filming it around 2024, the end of 2024. Which meant I had to be a bit clever because in between I lost a little bit of weight, which I think you can really see on the face. So I had to in some of the shots I had to like stretch the image to make sure I didn't look too different from the way I had been on the earlier scenes.
oh my,
But then yeah, so that was done, and I put it out there as hoping that the Unnamed Footage Festival might take it and screen it, and then Found TV might put it on their service. And then both of those things happened, and me being me,
wow.
didn't realize that those two actually overlap. They have a big connection between the two of them.
Yeah.
So, like, what was it? Found TV announced the film was going to be screening on their channel at the end of that month, and then Unnamed Festival were going to be screening it at the beginning of the month. And if I'd been in any way smart, I would have realized they connect and they could have like screened it and had it go live at the same time. But that's me, the terrible at these planning things. But the film went out there. It was great. Like some of my mates' intro to film
Mm.
over in San Francisco, and it went out there, went live, and people seem to enjoy it. I'm a big fan of kind of slow burn, low key found footage horrors where things are
Yeah.
a bit kind of hard to see. You're kind of watching, trying to find what you're looking for.
Mm.
Like I think actually probably what helped me rediscover what I wanted to do with the first film was horror in the high desert. There's like
Oh
that
yeah, of
last
course.
section of it where there's a lot of walking around kind of trying to see something and is there something there, is there not? And then, there's the moment where you start realizing what is there.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that kind of helped steer me back on the right track with the first film. And thankfully, a lot of people connected with it, but a lot of people really end up connecting with, there's like a bit of a teaser cliffhanger thing at the end of the first film. And
Mm.
it's not really a spoiler to say at this point because the entire second film is kind of set up around it. But the tapes that this guy is finding are basically like time traveling tapes where this person who's gone missing 30 years prior is communicating directly with this person 30 years in the future. And
Oh, that stuff is also cool though, isn't it? Like that's such an interesting like interesting thing to have in the film as well. Because a lot of times with these found footage films, I guess, kind of run out of ideas maybe after a while. You've kind of like got first of all, you have to get over the hump of why would this person be consistently filming when
Yeah.
these terrible things are happening, which obviously Distort and Distort 2 does very well because, it's part of the story.
Oh, thank you.
Um, but yeah, but obviously, like that is such an interesting thing, and I find that stuff fascinating in any genre, not just horror. So I think you've done a really good job with that there. I really enjoyed that. Um, was it always going to be a sequel? Did you always feel like it was gonna?
I mean, I knew when I was setting up the ending of the first one that if people liked it enough and it warranted to do a sequel, I knew what I would do with it. I knew it would kind of go bigger. In my
Mm.
mind, the first one was kind of Alien, and then the second one will be Aliens, where there's, it's, a bit more bigger, it's a bit more actiony in a way. It's I love a found footage film that can make you kind of think it's real, as close as you can to being real. And I think the first one does a bit of more of that approach. The second one is a bit more of a footage in a found, or is a film in a found footage format where it's,
Yeah.
I maybe there's a certain moments in it where it'd be a bit more of a stretch to think that this is real, just kind of certain plot actions that happen or whatever. But, I mean, that's obviously plenty of people love those style of found footage films as well. And,
Mm.
it's kind of for me, it was kind of changing up what I was doing as well because that was my third found footage film, Distort 2. And then so the first Distort film and a film I made called In a Stranger's House are
Mm.
both that kind of slow burn, kind of more subtle horror. So it was kind of for me, I wanted to be able to change things up, try something different. Just, I mean, I love making films and I love found footage, and it's important to me to, as an artist, I guess, to try and do things differently and be able to kind of keep myself kind of keep myself engaged with what I'm doing. I mean, I could go out and make a dozen films where it's, me in a location and things are kind of obscurely happening and it's all very subtle, but I mean, where's the fun in that? There's no, challenge or interesting side of that for me.
Did you have more fun with the sequel then? Would you say that there was obviously a bigger cast? There was a lot of interesting things. We had those things at the start of this film where it's kind of like influencers and social media users reacting to the story of the first film.
Yeah, I was actually surprised at because I can't remember when I got the idea to do that, but I definitely it was a good while ago, and I just kind of like found these reviews that people had done, and I kind of assembled it together in some version of it, and I figured that's a great way to say what the first film was without me having to just sort of sit there on the couch and say it on
So
camera.
they were actual reviews that people have put out there already.
They were well, it's kind of 40, 60. So
Okay.
most of them are real, and then a few of them one of them I think is a Canal. He went and he has this great line of like my worst nightmare being in a footage with a white guy with a guitar. Like he did that. He said that in a review that he did, and I asked him could I use the clip, and he said no, no, hold on, wait. And he went off and he redid the line so he'd be on camera for me to put it in. But it's like
Oh, I see.
hilarious. It's so pitch perfect.
Yeah, he
Um,
wanted to get his face in the film as well, and it's a great line as well. I think I'd seen that clip. I think maybe it was some promo for this film that I'd seen that
yeah.
clip, and I just thought again, yeah, I thought it was an official one. Well, I guess it was in a way, but yeah, no, it was a really good addition, I think.
Yeah, no, I see I love being kind of able to include people in films. I love being able to yeah, kind of share it around, make it kind of a bit of a group experience, which in a way it's bad because, when you're a filmmaker, you're supposed to like, not kind of I don't want to say don't want to interact with critics a certain way or whatever, but you don't want to be kind of seeming like you're sucking up to someone just for that kind of thing. So, but what I
Yeah,
find is, I mean, people who are doing like critics are typically people who love films and I love films, so we've already
mm.
got that in common. So say like Terry and Mary Beth who also are in that section, like
Mm.
that's something they custom did for me. Like I gave them an idea of what I needed them to say. But when you do that, when you put people like that in, suddenly you kind of have to go, okay, they're probably not going to be reviewing the film afterwards because they're
Oh
in the
yeah,
film, so it's a little bit more
that is always a bit dangerous, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, well, that's it. Like my friend Pat, she's in it as well, and she'd done this before, where because she did whispers for another film I made, and she basically said like she couldn't review the film because she's in the film in some form, so I thought it might be a little bit biased, which
Yeah.
is very fair. But no, when I did that, when I came up with the idea I put together, I shocked. I thought some people kind of go, oh no, I'm not okay with that, or oh, I'm not too sure. But actually, everyone who I approached went for it. Like there was one person who was going to record a custom line who couldn't because of life circumstances, but everyone was really excited for it, and it was great. And then like just having a bigger cast in general in the film was great to actually be able to play off some other people, and it's kind of a mix. So. Kira Bailey, who plays Kira in the film, she's an actor I know for a few years. Like we made a film called Bring Out the Fear, which that's a more straight narrative film. That was one that screened at Fright Fest in 2021.
Mm.
And I thought I was, being clever with the idea of having my partner in it be someone who is an actor who, there's a whole kind of separate side of like, is this real? Is this not real and all?
Yeah.
But then, yeah, then it's kind of a mix of a couple of actors in it, and then just say Igraine, who plays Lily in the film, like she's not an actor, but she's someone who I met through Bring Out the Fear as well. And when I was trying to cast this, so basically, what was it? Like she asked me to do a horror panel with her in Dublin HorrorCon last year,
Mm.
and she knew I was making this film. She knew I was putting out like casting call for it. Um, and she sent me a message going, "Can I share this on my page to try and help, find people to be in your film for you? And if no one works out there, I'll do it, lol." And the problem is, you can't say things like that to me. I take advantage of too many of those kind of things. No, she was very much like the exact kind of person I wanted for that role. So when she said that, it was like, I know her background because, funny enough, like I know her because she wrote about Bring Out the Fear for Fangoria. She included in some lists of, I can't remember which topic it was. If it was Irish horror or like relationship
Mm.
horror or something like that. But that's how I met her, and like I was on her podcast. But then it turns out she literally lives over the hill from me, about 10 or 15 minutes down the road.
Oh my
And
God.
we have some friends in common as well. And like I didn't know that. I don't think she knew that. It was just pure coincidence.
Yeah.
And obviously we struck up a good friendship and all that thing. So when this film came around and when she was up for doing it, and I knew her background that she has, like she can do, she doesn't have a shyness about doing certain things. I knew she could be great in that role.
Yeah.
So I think she's absolutely fantastic in the film. So
Absolutely, definitely. And it's her first acting role, is that right?
yeah, as far as I'm aware, like it's
Yeah.
definitely her first feature role anyway. And I mean, you wouldn't know. She kind of went in like, both feet in the deep end. It was great.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously Igraine has been on the show. She joined us to discuss Frauke, probably just a couple of months ago now. But yeah, I don't think you'd look at her performance and think this is someone who this is her first role and she's not an actor. Well, I think you can safely say she's an actor now. After that, and she gets lots to do. There's lots of like actual. I messaged her while I was watching the film actually and said, "You've pretty much got a Blair Witch Project moment in this film, haven't you?"
I know, and that was one of the first things when I was like offloading all the footage. I just was going through that scene where she's crawling around in the dark, and it's that freeze frame that I've used for all the publicity. It's like,
Yeah.
her with the in the night vision, and it's just so perfect. But even then, like, I just think of like, because I mean, I'm not an actor, so like for me, when I do these things, I have to really kind of work through a shyness about these things. But
Mm.
like, for someone like her, when she went at it, she does things like even just these moments where like, she screams or whatever. I mean, that's quite a big ask of someone to actually just kind of scream out of nowhere. I mean,
Yeah.
in your everyday life, I would find it very difficult to kind of get above my normal kind of talking. Maybe I can get a little bit louder or a little bit bassier, but I can't really just kind of scream.
Yeah.
And I remember asking her what she thought of it, and she's like, she said she enjoyed it. I was it was yeah, it was different. It was weird because it's not something she would do in her natural everyday life, but like she kind of fucking nailed it.
Yeah,
And the same
definitely.
for like, the scene like yeah, there's a scene where she's crawling around in the dark and all, and for her to have that trust to be doing it, because that was literally in the dark because it was a night vision camera. So
Mm.
it's me and her crawling around there, and I just remember during one of the takes of it that I just realized that there was this horrible, horrible smell. And I realized, oh shit, I've like one of us is rolling around in shit right now. And
Oh my God.
so she said nothing about this. So it was good of her. Thankfully, I noticed.
Ever the professional.
I know, like afterwards, like I kind of subtly went to the side and looked, and thankfully it was me. I'd stepped in, it was in on my boot or whatever, so it wasn't wasn't in her crawling path. But
God.
fair play to her for like, if she smelled it, she kind of pushed through it. Maybe she used it as her motivation. Maybe it was
Commitment.
part of the character.
Her motivation. Yeah. To never do a film with you again. That was
That's it. Yeah, it's the sequel. So she mysteriously drove her car off a cliff. Uh,
film and Louise style.
mm.
Um, so you filmed it. Is it pretty nearby, like where you live?
Yeah, so I live in North Wicklow, which is a very forested part of Ireland.
Mm.
And now I've been terrible. I've used the exact same forest for three films now.
Mm.
So Bring Out the Fear, Distort, and Distort 2. Although it's a mix of three different forests technically. But the big thing is it's so rich with different textures. There's different areas and all. And also the fact that it is near home helps an awful lot. But
Yeah.
I mean, we shot the film in about it was kind of 5 days, 6 days,
Mm.
mainly for the shoot. I say six because the sixth day we had Charlie came over from Newcastle to do a part in the film. She's the voice of the tapes and stuff.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So
yeah, of
this,
course.
so the last day was me and her out in the forest recording her lines, which was different because the first film she did them herself from over in Newcastle, and sent them on to me. Whereas this time we got her over, which was lovely because like I
Yeah.
say, I met her in uni and we always got on very well, and it was good to be over in person and actually kind of have that experience again of acting. She was always in my favorite short film I ever made, so it was really good to kind of get her back on screen and doing things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, those tapes are great. Those tapes are harrowing and yeah, the kind of the time travel element of it is really really cool. Was that kind of like because even though it's kind of in the first film, how would you describe it? It's kind of like more fleshed out, I guess, in this particular film, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I knew with the first one, I was going to hang it on the idea of her communicating through time at the end. But in a
Mm,
way, there's certain tapes that imply the idea of her kind of overlapping with him earlier in some of the tapes as well. So I always knew it was going to be the big thing I wanted to do. Like I'm a musician as well, so like music is a big thing for me. Recording and all that is a huge part
mm.
of my life and a big thing that I'm interested in. So, like all those elements were things that they were the meat of the film to me was like this idea. I'm always fascinated by the idea that with frequencies that there's certain things that we can't hear but as humans that other animals can hear or we can record it and we can't hear it. But if you look on a waveform, you can actually see if you isolate certain
Mm.
frequencies, you can see there's something there.
Yeah.
Um, and like
Good.
even the idea that as you get older, you lose some frequencies and things.
Oh
Um,
yeah, of course. Yeah, that's
so,
fascinating.
but yeah, and like I'm fascinated by the idea of like universes and time travel and all this. I mean, I'm fascinated by the supernatural side as well. I'm not a believer, but I am very much a believer in the ideas of of like I just
Yeah.
love the
I believe
world
in the
that it always.
concept of these things.
Yeah, it's just so I love there's nothing more I love than kind of sitting down and like I'll watch a lot of indie horror games or I'll read a lot of creepy pastas or
Yeah.
a lot of weird prompts and all that just kind of like get your brain kind of moving along and just kind of coming up with ideas. It's that idea like I always think say, things that kind of make your brain do a lot of the work. I
Yeah.
just love that. Say something like Skinamarink. I know very Marmite for people, but I loved it because it just made me feel like I was in a nightmare from when I was 8 years old. Um
Yeah. It did,
and
and that's the thing. It did affect people. I think people who had had you know, had with this weird misplaced memory of a time like that really really did connect with Skinamarink, didn't they?
mm,
I guess like with the time travel element, it kind of adds this like cosmic horror element to a film that perhaps a
yeah.
lot of found footage films don't always tread that path.
Yeah.
So I find yeah, it was very very unique. So in terms of Skinamarink, any other sort of like found footage films like around about this era, or I guess classics as well that would have been inspiration for you when you're making this?
Well, I think, I've always been a big fan of Leaving DC, which is quite a lo-fi kind of one. Now, I mean, the first Distort and In a Stranger's House would probably be a bit more like that one.
Mm.
Butterfly Kisses is like great film as well. I'm trying to think of, I feel like, with this one, funny enough, I always think that Blair Witch 2, like the Book of Shadows, was especially for the beginning of this film, was something I kind of went with that idea of like that's where the idea of having the all the reviews and all that to kind of tell the story of the first film.
Yeah,
And
definitely. I can definitely see those vibes. I mean, slightly different in terms of weirdly in Blair Witch 2, like Blair Witch 1 exists as a film. And I guess like
yeah,
it's similar to it, I guess it does with Distort and Distort 1 and 2 as well.
yeah,
But yeah, I can absolutely see that as well. And I
yeah.
definitely did.
I'm trying to think of what other films I mean, there's loads of films I saw again, like Horror in the High Desert. Those films have kind of when I decided to kind of do the structure of the film, having interviews and kind of cutting around things a little bit, I would have taken a bit of influence from the way that Dutch does in those films. So I think
Mm.
he does a great job with that. Like it's not as polished, and it's intentionally not as polished. Like the film is, it's quite rough. The idea is like the camera guy who's in it is kind of he's a jobbing camera guy, so he doesn't really care too much. He's plonking the camera
Yeah.
down as long
He
as it's in focus.
he's not
Um,
really a believer. He's a bit bad tempered, a bit well, not miserable, but a little bit grumpy, let's say.
Yeah, he's kind of like every camera guy I know, to be honest. And I
There we
mean that with
go.
love. I mean that with love. But yeah, it was just very much that approach of I'm kind of thinking like I watch a lot of found footage films and
Mm.
yeah, I don't know, like again, kind of trying to break out of that idea of ones that are kind of on the more lo-fi realistic way to try and
Mhm.
be a bit bigger with the scale.
Yeah.
Have things like interviews and all that and but at the same time, I do find, with this film, you have the wraparound interviews initially. Things are kind of a bit edited, but then as the film gets on further and further, you drift away from that a little bit to kind of get a bit more into like, okay, here's what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Which is very important. Like, I didn't want to kind of kill the vibe of the film just to kind of stick to a format. So, I mean, for me, I always think these films are a bit like jazz or something like that. You have to, or even punk rock. You're improvising. You're doing something kind of you know, straight from the shooting from the hip. It's
Mhm.
important to kind of be able to go with roll with the punches and try something different. And if something's working, great. If it's not working, shift it a different direction. Uh, we shot most of the film in 5 days, and even with that, somehow the first pass of this film was like 2 hours and 10 minutes, which was insanity. I can't believe like
Oh
the film
wow.
had that much in it. Um, because normally, and I do think I aim for these films to be about 70 minutes if I can for like found footage,
Okay.
just because I think low budget found footage sometimes you don't want to overstay your welcome. And certainly I see the critiques from some people that they find some of the films, they look at them and they think it's only 70 minutes and it could have been shorter. I
Yeah.
don't think, I don't know if you look at this film, I can't see a moment. In fact, I feel like I did get it down to it's 89 minutes, I think now.
Yeah.
But I still added some stuff. I had to add moments in and beats back in because I just started pulling too much out to try and get it
Mm.
closer to the durations I wanted. But it was like, you're kind of kneecapping yourself to try and get it to a duration that people might want, or well, maybe in your mind you think people might want, but you're actually better
Mm.
off sometimes adding these things back in now. Mercifully, like I said, I didn't stick with a 2 hour cut. So, I mean, someone,
Is
someone
there a
give me
two
applause
a
for that.
2 hour cut out there somewhere then? Is that what you're saying?
Is that a yeah? Release the like dragon cut. Um, no, it's it would not be an enjoyable experience. It's just a lot of little beats and lines and stuff like that. It's as with
Yeah.
all editing, you're not missing too much. But if I end up doing a physical release, I'm sure I'll put the deleted scenes together into some sort of form. I did that with
Yeah.
the first film. That was one of my favorite things with the first film was I made a lovely Blu-ray of it that has like all these things like a
Oh
commentary and
wow.
deleted scenes and all the performance footage put together nicely and we packaged that up and all and so like that's out there in the world on my site that makes it look really dodgy. But it's I don't know, I'm a big physical media guy, so it's
Yeah.
nice to do that. And hopefully with this film I'll do that as well.
Amazing.
Um
What is your website?
it's weirdprettypictures.com.
Weird Pretty
So
Pictures. Brilliant. I'll
yeah, it's
put that in the
nice.
show notes so
Oh,
people can go and
bro.
take a look. Definitely.
Bro. And just so if people go and like look at it and go like, Jesus, this is like clip art and looks real dodgy. Yes, yes, it does. It is me, I promise to God. Um,
Oh, it's a lovely website.
oh, thank you very
Oh
much.
yeah, that's lovely. I mean, yeah, maybe like 10% dodgy, but the, you find the best physical media on the dodgiest websites, right? And I don't mean that in a dark, disturbing
Yeah.
way. I mean it in
Well,
a
I mean, I grew up back when like the BBFC was kind of shifting from being very censor heavy to being very liberal. And so when I was getting films, I was trawling eBay and all these weird dodgy websites where it was everyone's custom domains and stuff. And
yeah.
that's like, I would have been on websites that looked like this day in, day out, trying to find films like, finding like Cannibal Holocausts or Dawn of the Dead
Yeah.
Uncut and stuff like that. And I mean, people are spoiled now with how easy some of these films are to
Yeah.
get. Like, I just remember part of the fun of it was the thrill of the chase trying to catch these films or
Mm.
find these films back in the day.
Now we're getting 4K remastered box sets of like
Mm.
video nasties, which is pretty crazy, but
I,
still very cool.
I know it's mad. A part of me at some point is probably gonna like I'll like take my films and I'll completely like scrub them from the internet so people won't be able to see them. It'll become hard to watch them. And then I'll like, I'll have it in my ego that's like, well, now they have to chase after it and like work for it. And that's how I find out it's like no one even knows. Like what's that? Distort? What's that? Yeah.
So obviously, both films are streaming on Found TV currently. So was that the platform you thought was probably the best place for it? I guess like yeah, it's got all the found footage on there. So I guess
Yeah.
you're really going to find the fans of that particular subgenre as well. Um, so yeah, how's that been with the?
Yeah, it's been great. So, like, I mean, FoundTV, it's quite small in a way. Like, Louis and Monica are the ones who run it, and they're filmmakers as well. And
Mm,
but they just have this great passion for found footage films and filmmaking in general, to be fair. And I when I did the first, well, they had acquired In a Stranger's House for their platform when they started it, and then I think they'd only been around for about half a year when Distort, the first one, went on there.
mm,
Excuse me. But when I was coming to do the second one, I actually reached out to them and said, I'm doing this film. Like, would you guys like to basically kind of take it and put it as an exclusive for a bit? And they were into that, and they were going. Then they do the kind of publicity. They could have a date. We can kind of make a little fuss around it.
mm,
And I figured, listen. I mean, there is places out there you can get films that maybe is a bit better for the money side of things and all, but indie filmmaking is very fickle, and you can do all
mm.
the things that people say is the right approach to do for these things, and it's just not really worth it. Like, I mean, I've gone through like when I did In a Stranger's House, I don't know if I just kind of hit the right moment because that film literally cost me €30 to make, and it ended up being one of the more successful things I've done. And just at the time, Amazon paid. I mean, the numbers were very low, but the way it worked, it just ended up being quite good. It allowed me to do Bring It to Fear, which also did well, but because that was more traditional through sales agents and distributors, the money ended up not being great. But
Mm,
then you see things going through, and I just see the other films through all the other platforms and stuff like, your Amazon and Tubi's and all that. And, you can see what the numbers coming in and all that, but the way the economy of it all works these
sure,
days,
sure.
it's not really worth it the same way. In the films, when you put them out that way, they can just disappear. And it just becomes very sad. You put all this work in, you kind of want to put it with someone who's going to care about the film. And for me, FoundTV, they definitely cared. They put it there. It ended up trending with them for a while. And the first film came back into their trending chart as well. Um, and yeah, I mean, I don't make these films for money or anything like that. I mean, I make them to because I love making films and I love to kind of make something I can share the experience with people about.
Mm,
I think, the reaction to this film has been great. So, uh, I mean, as with any found footage and any film, there's always going to be people who have their issues with things.
mm.
And, you have to, when you do anything creative or put yourself out there in the public light at all, you have to have a thick skin. But, the fact that if anyone is going to watch it and is going to enjoy it, it's going to be people who are going to go onto Found TV and watch it.
Yeah,
And the fact that it's free as well, free with ads, like, I mean, you can't really beat
yeah.
that number, can you?
No, no, definitely not. And I've been enjoying the platform. It was kind of when I watched Distort, Distort 2, and a few other films, it was the first time I'd used the platform and the first time I was aware of it. So I was very happy to discover it. My co-host Andy was straight on it, and he was like, "Well, there we go. That's all my time gone. I'm going to be just like plowing through this
Oh, there's
as
so
well
many
now."
great things on there. And although I did notice, like at the same time, there was just this trilogy of red poster films that came out that was like, what was it like Primal Darkness, Loner, and Dead Among the Trees. It
Yeah.
was just like fucking hell. Like, here's me thinking I'm all cool and clever, making my real standout poster. I'm the fucking last of this group. But
I have been thinking that recently. I think a lot of the films we've been doing interviews for recently, we tried to like replicate the color of the poster in the color of our artwork. And I was looking at it the other day and going, all our thumbnails are red. Like, what's going on? And there's going to be another one as well. But
oh my
yeah,
God,
it works, doesn't it? It just works, I
yeah.
think.
No, well, that's it. Like, listen, I liked it. I made that poster for the first film, but it was a very different version. Actually, the first film on Apple TV has the old poster as a background. You can see it's kind of gray and moody
Mm,
and shit like that. And then just as I was tooling it up and all, someone suggests I did alternate versions, and someone said that the red one was their favorite, so we ran with that.
yeah, the
But
red one. It's a good one. It always works.
yeah.
Um, are you going to stick with the found footage genre, do you think, or is your next project potentially going to be something slightly different?
Well, there's kind of a yes and no to all of it because I'm being kept very busy right now because right now I'm in the middle of, and I say in the middle, I literally was filming something yesterday and I'm going to film more today after we finish chatting.
Oh wow.
I'm making a film with another filmmaker called Chris Vanderkay who did this really good found footage film called Ask. It's stylized as Dot Ask.
Hmm.
So he's over in America, and so basically there's his idea. He came up with a scenario that's on his side and part of it's on my side. So. We're kind of meeting in the middle with our shooting. So that's kind of found footage esque that we're doing. Well, it is definitely found footage.
Hmm.
So that's happening right now. Not too sure what the plan is. I'm gonna let him kind of guide the plan, I think, for when that's wrapped. I mean, yeah, and then I'm doing a more traditional narrative film in September, that's a bit of a bigger one about a group of people trapped in a caravan, basically. And
Oh
that's
wow.
yeah, so I'm excited about that one. So that one's a bit of a bigger thing for me, and I'm just putting a lot of time and effort into that one. I
Hmm.
haven't no, actually I was gonna say I haven't done a traditional narrative feature in a while, but I did Advent kind of in between the two Distort films. So
Oh yeah, of
but it's
course.
it's it's a very different experience, when you have to, you have a bigger crew and then you have actors who are doing a script like
Yeah.
directly off of a script and all that kind of thing. So
Single location as well, is when you say about
basically, yeah,
pretty
that's
much, yeah.
which I mean, it's still an indie film, so we definitely need to have places where we can get stuff done very quick.
Yeah, yeah. Exciting stuff. I mean, with that then, where is the best place for our audiences to keep up to speed with you, future projects and everything? So weird pretty pictures obviously for anything physical media. I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yes.
But yeah, up to I guess is Instagram or any other platforms
Yeah,
best to keep up to speed?
Instagram and Blue Sky would be the ones I go for at the moment mainly, and that's Rich M Waters. So M for murder. I don't, whatever. But yeah, those are the places I tend to be active. But like, listen, I am, when people reach out to me, as most people who have reached out to me know, I am. I'm a chatterbox, and I do like talking about things, and if people say nice things, I'm like, I will always say thank you, or if someone says some not so nice things, I'll say thank you. Uh,
Well, thanks
but
for the attention. You know, you give my film some attention, so that's as good as a
Yeah, exactly. But that's it's yeah. Again, for me, I mean, making films is something I love doing, and like I love creating, and I love sharing these things with folks. If I had my way, I'd be making films nonstop, and they'd be out there for folks. I always say that, like right now, it feels like maybe I'm making them nonstop, but I'm sure
yeah.
I'll hit a
Shouldn't be
drought
that
where it'll
way.
be it could be years between, who knows. But and I guess for me as well, I have to like if these films don't go theatrical or whatever, I don't have some big box office and anything like that to kind of judge things off of. I only know what reception I get off people. So if I hear from people with messages or comments,
Yeah.
or I see like, the letterbox and IMDb's and stuff like that, then that's the only way for me to gauge if people want to
Mm.
see more. So
Yeah,
when
of
I
course.
decided the only way I knew to do Distort 2 was when I saw that people reacted so well to the things in Distort
Mm.
1, and
Distort one, yeah.
the way I like left it hanging. That was the stuff that they were all wanting more of, which is the stuff I wanted to make more of. So that
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah, I mean, when you end a film like that, people are going to be gasping for the next chapter, aren't they? I mean, I highly recommend our audiences to go and watch Distort and Distort 2 on Found Footage. Oh, sorry, on Found TV. And yeah, get in touch with Rich. Log it on Letterboxd. Rate it. Get in touch with Rich and tell him how much you love it. Of course. Brilliant. Well, you said you're a chatterbox, Rich, so I'd be very glad to have you on a future full episode. So we'll get something in the diary and we'll choose a film to discuss. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, but for now, thanks very much, Rich. Thanks for taking the time to chat to me, and see you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Take care. Bye bye.